Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Michelle Carey here. Today is day 11. Today is also February 24th, 2026. It is a Tuesday, and we are on day 11. And if I'm not mistaken, we left off at chapter 2, scene 2A. That's done. And yes, that's what here is my notes. And then we're going to now move on to chapter 3, scene 3. I have my timer here. Let me get it set up. I have a webinar in about an hour to attend. What is this webinar about? This is being hosted by ProWritingAid. And let me look at my calendar. The webinar is not on this phone. Okay, let me look on this calendar here because it's not on this phone. Dramatic tension from the onset. And then there's another webinar later on today, an interview with Christine Pride. Yesterday, we did a webinar showing, not telling, I think that was with Tessa Bailey. She'll be back on Thursday for her interview. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff going on. So, let's get started. Where am I at with the words? 4,981. I'm going to end up taking words out because I thought about it. What happens if you get to the 5,000 word mark and you're in the middle of a sentence? Do you have to like take that sentence out? It's really weird about this. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the FAQs and the submission. I know you can have anywhere between 4,500 and 5,000 words, but not a word over 5,000. So let's set this timer up for 8 minutes. You know how we like the 8 minute timer around here. And let's go. Oh, I just want to also say, let me pause this for a minute. Let me pause that because I'm about to. I just remember in my last video, I asked for some assistance on the name of a character who's also coincidentally named after one of the judges, not the full name, just the first name. And I got a really good comment. If it really spoke to me, if it was already there, keep it. And I decided to keep the name. That was my initial thought yesterday. I said I was going to sit with it in my comment. I said, you know what, let me sit with this. And I fully understood what the commenter was saying. But now, as I'm sitting here writing, I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to sit with this now. I think maybe now I'm going to change her name to something very generic that, you know, there could be many of those names out there in the world. So this name is common, but it's not common. It's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, it's a really nice name. Maybe I'll write it down in my notes and use it for a different character on a different story. Maybe that will speak to, to that. But also thought about how, because we only have 5,000 words, I'm the kind of writer, I'm not very overly descriptive with how characters look. That's not my thing. I'd rather you as the reader decide how that character would would look. And I don't put in a lot of different details in my stories, like the color of the clothing. Because if the color of the clothing is not going to be important to the overall story, what does it matter if they have a blue jacket on or a red jacket, unless it's an important detail that that jacket is going to come into play or that jacket has a meaning or some type of symbolism. So I don't, and let me just say this also. I also come from a world of screenwriting. When I first started my writing career, my author career, way back in the early aughts, I've always had trouble writing full blown novels. I could write an ending, I could write a beginning, but I could never figure out how to connect the beginning to the end. And it took me just I cannot tell you how many novels that I tried to start writing. It just failed miserably. So that's how I got into screenwriting for not for not trying, not lack of effort or anything, but it had a lot to do with the fact I like the screenplay format. It was very simplistic. 120 pages equals 1 minute of screen time. 1 minute of screen time. And all I had to write was action dialogue, action dialogue, action dialogue. So with that, it didn't matter about what they were wearing. It was what were they doing in the scene? What were they saying? How does the dialogue forward the plot? So what did I do in the early aughts? That's when my MFA comes into being because that's when I went to school to learn how to write a screenplay. You don't have to go to school, of course, to learn how to write a screenplay. Not at all. There are a lot of fabulous screenwriting books out there that will teach you. And now, of course, YouTube University and everything else. But we're talking like 2006, 2007. And I thought I really wanted to be a screenwriter. So I went to school for it. And I did take, in my MFA program, I did have to take other courses besides screenwriting. I had to take fiction writing, nonfiction writing, creative nonfiction writing, poetry. So you did the spectrum of different types of writing. But my main courses focused in on screenwriting. And which is interesting because my opus, my baby, is my actual MFA thesis that I graduated in 2009, and I've been working on that since 2009, so almost 20 years. And it's I can't tell you how many iterations that book it went through so many iterations as a screenplay, but then it went through X amount of iterations as a novel, and I finally got it and I wrote it last year, and I'm in the process of trying to whittle it down and edit it, because it's 166,000 words, and probably I think that will equate to, it's a thickie. It's kind of like this is one of the books I'm going to talk about today. I mean, it's a good story, don't get me wrong. It is something that I've always wanted to jump into. While I'm primarily a contemporary fiction romance novelist writer, I've always wanted to write a thriller. And because I live in the Washington, D.C. area and I was a federal government employee, so I've always wanted to write a political thriller, not necessarily with politics. That doesn't matter. It's the political scene, right? And crime and yeah, all of that. And I finally got it, right? I finally got it. I think I was thinking too hard on it. I think I was thinking too hard on it. So when it comes to, excuse me, my writing, because I'm sitting here reading what I've written, and it's very dialogue, just back and forth. There are some sensory details in there, but this is really about how the dialogue is moving the plot forward. And I sit and I wonder, because this is a contest, will the judges be able to appreciate the way, my writing style? I don't think my writing style is unique, but I don't do adverbs, so there's that. I know some people don't care. I mean, we're in 2026, so people feel like adverbs are okay. Adverbs to me is a form of of telling and not showing. But you have major authors with New York, bestsellers that have littered with adverbs. So, who am I to, say that? But anyway, yeah, so I just went off on a tangent there, and let me get back to this editing thing here. I just wanted to say that it came up as I was looking at my writing, and I'm like, I feel like I'm a little different. All right, we got 6 minutes to go. Let's go. All right. I had already said that. I didn't even see that. Let me delete that. All right. Let's move this up here. Let me change that character. Let me change that. Right. So are they near her or not? Interesting. Mm, perfect. All righty. So I let the timer go over by accident. Um, this is what happens when you get really involved. I want to talk about my nonfiction books. I have a fourth nonfiction book, but I don't have a physical copy of it because it's a free download and it's on my website. And it's about writer's block. And it's a toolkit to help you get through writer's block. So if you want to go, check that out. But in the meantime, I have read passages in earlier days from my Creative Courage book, and it's really for people who are over 40. And I'm not saying that younger people don't have these issues, but people who are over 40 have bills, families, and lives. Not saying that people who are younger than that don't have those kinds of things, but I'm just really trying to cater to my Gen Xers, to tell them, go live your dreams. So that's what that book is about. Then we have The Reluctant Author, a little thicker. This book, I'm an introvert, believe it or not, but I am. I find, and well, I'm a writer, so I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. I find a lot of my solitude by myself. I find a lot of my solitude by myself in my room, in my office, in my car, just being by myself. So The Reluctant Author is a book. It's about thriving as an introverted writer in a loud industry. And what this book speaks to is how we are at a conundrum when you are an introverted writer. And the conundrum is we value our solitude, we value writing, being in this space by ourselves, gathering our energy from just the essence of where we are. But once you write the book, then you have to market and promote the book. And that's where the loud industry comes from, because now you have to put yourself out there. You have to meet people, you have to talk to people. And that can be a very energy draining kind of thing, talking and meeting people. Some people that you don't want to talk to and don't want to meet and don't want to listen to their stories. And this book kind of gives you some practical validation. I think somebody told me that what they were going through wasn't unique to them and they didn't feel alone. It says not for resale because these are my author proof copies. I think it's, interesting that we just have a lot of people out there who are writers, but don't want to do the marketing and the promotion bit. Not because they can't do it, but because it requires talking to a lot of people and going places and doing things and getting that battery just immediately drained, just drained. So that's what this book is about. Understanding your social battery. Think of your social energy like a smartphone battery. Extroverts might have the latest model with all day battery and fast charging. They can live stream, engage in comment threads, attend virtual events, and still have juice left for a Twitter chat. I did say Twitter in this book because that's what it is to me. It will never be X. We're working with an older model. Our battery drains faster, charges slower, and sometimes shut down when we push too hard. That's me. Because I'm like, oh, it's so funny because when people want to invite you out, you want to go, right? I had a nerve to suggest to a couple of my girlfriends, oh, we should go to this. I think it's called the jury experience. We should go to this. And one of my girlfriends was like, yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, we should go. I didn't respond. The tickets I think are like $42, $45 or whatever. But here I am like, I suggested this and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Here, it says, I spent years thinking there was something wrong with me because I couldn't maintain the promotional pace I saw other authors keeping. After a day job that required constant interaction with colleagues, the last thing I wanted to do was get online and be quote unquote on for potential readers. The idea of posting daily on social media, responding to every comment, and building my author platform felt like a full time job, one that paid nothing and required me to be cheerful about it. I think what's interesting is that when I was thinking about this and I wrote this, of course, I was working. I was working. So now that I'm retired, I don't feel that way anymore because this is what I do. This is what I have time for. So I don't have to divide my time between my 9 to 5 job and all the energy that that can suck you out, because you know as well as I know, everybody knows, right? Those 9 to 5s, when you're dealing with supervisors and bosses, and sometimes you have to deal with the public, and if you're not a public facing company or entity and you are dealing with let's just say I was in the federal government, so I was working with other agencies, but just working with other people in other divisions and they do things differently, or other centers. Oh my God. I cannot tell you how I am so over the let's meet for the meeting that's going to occur next week. So sometimes we would meet a couple of times before we go to the bigger meeting. And I'm like, why are we meeting on this? Right? Don't we have our shit together? But anyway, this is a good book. And then this book right here, it's called Get to Writing. Oh, yeah, she's thick. It's a lot of pages. I think printed is like 700 and something odd pages. Let's see here. Printed, it is 776 pages. It's like an encyclopedia. So it covers everything from writing, screenwriting, publishing. And this is, since this is my copy, there's no table of contents in this copy. It was put in after the fact because this is just a proof copy. But I wanted to say what this covers. I talk about myself. I talk about why. I talk about the passion of writing. What else do I talk about in this book? But if you get it at Amazon online, right? Because I do have a copy of it for ebook. Of course, you have a table of contents, and you don't have to read it from front to back. You can just select what area that you want to read, and that's what you read. So I have it. Oh God, I'm just flipping through here. Oh my God, this book was like 6, 7 years in the making. To like dig into this, that would be a whole separate playlist, a whole separate thing from this. This is really about this pro writing aid contest. But yeah, so mostly I just talked today. I didn't really do a whole bunch of writing session, but now that we're getting down in these further scenes, there's really not, there's some editing that I have to do, but it's not um minor words. So we're getting there. We are getting there. So I want to thank you for watching this video and taking the time out today. And I will see you on day 12. Peace.